Alright, just so we're clear, I'm not smut shaming, I'm smut critiquing. There's a difference. Hi everybody, welcome back to A Well-Read Nerd. I'm Amber. I posted a few weeks ago on Instagram that I was going to be doing a review for Scarlett St. Clair's King of Battle and Blood. That didn't happen because, life happened. But I'm here today with a review for this. For anybody who doesn't know, Scarlett St. Clair, pictured here, looking very much like an ex-goth kid heading steadily towards a midlife crisis. It's fine, we recognize our own. Is the prolific author for the Hades X Persephone series. This is her newest series called let me double check, Adrian X Isolde series, but this is the first one, and I read it. For anybody who's unfamiliar with her work, who only recognizes it through snippets and pictures of the cover on TikTok and Instagram, it's kind of niche, but not the way you're thinking. So her Hades X Persephone series became infamous, maybe, for being very graphically adult. I have a problem with smut. I've been reading fan fiction since I was 13. Smut at this point doesn't even faze me. But there's a lot of people that apparently have not had my very, very graphic reading habits. So maybe it was something new and it was something interesting, or maybe it's just the fact that instead of reading it on your cell phone at 2 o'clock in the morning underneath the cover, you could read it in book form, and that was new and exciting. But the Hades X Persephone series, of which I think there's like 3 or 5 books, take your pick. I'll insert here when I Google it. It was very popular. People are still reading it. People are still posting about it. I read the first one on a Kindle book. It was fine. By far not what I would consider the best Hades Persephone retelling. If you're looking for, in my opinion, the best Hades Persephone retelling, go read Lore Olympus. Like, it is so much better. But it is what it is. It's not bad. It's just not what I would consider the end-all be-all that a lot of people seem to make it up to be. But that was her first, major popular novel series. So when this came in my Unplugged box, I was more than willing to give it a try. Now, that being said, this is going to get very critiquey. So, let's start with breaking this down into easily digestible segments. I'm not going to talk about any spoilers till the very end, so if you're still thinking about reading this, and even given what I said, give it a try. You might like it better than I did, or you might have a completely different experience with it. That's cool. But we're just going to break this down into easily digestible parts that I can talk about. So the first thing is characters. So as you can tell by the blank X blank series, which is such a shipper thing to do. I'm seriously going to have to do some deep diving and see if she was involved with any of the fandoms at one point or another. But it's very much geared towards the two main protagonists of Isolde and Adrian. Isolde is a princess, Adrian is a vampire warlord. Tale as old as time. But Isolde is forced into marriage with Adrian, and she has a plan as a strong, independent female protagonist that she's going to kill him and end the war that way. Not a bad spot. It's what that gives you on the back of the thing, and it actually sounded really intriguing when I was reading the blurb on the back. Plot, however, doesn't follow through with intention or promise, because this is written by somebody else. Scarlett wrote the rest of it. But yeah, that's the first into it that you have. There's a war. It's been going on for several hundred years. There's the vampires, there's the non-vampires, there were witches at one point, there aren't any more, that sort of thing. So they're forced to marry, they're married, and then what would be an interesting plot is mostly devolved into sex, which I'll get into in a minute, because first we have to talk about Adrian. Adrian is not an exciting character. I've read so many more interestingly written male characters. He is literally a cardboard cutout prop up of a male protagonist that is simply there for the masturbatory aid of the female readers and some of the male ones. I'm sorry, that's not my thing. If that's your thing, go ahead, sweetheart. Just have fun. You have fun and you do you. However, not really my thing when it comes to reading. So that was sort of a meh. I mean, it didn't really detract from the book besides making all of the scenes that he was in incredibly boring. I mean, the scenes where it was supposed to be plot, like, it was just sort of like, eh. I'm sure there's plenty of people that thought him was mysterious and romantic and all of that stuff. I'm not one of them. Maybe it's my, personal attractions, but he's just not really my thing. Like, if that's what you're into and you find that it was a great character and you really loved it, go ahead. And the two together are just kind of like, meh. Like, groundbreaking, earth-shattering. It was just sort of like, she hates him. She's gonna kill him, stop a war. But she really, really wants to get down and dirty. And he is a wooden cardboard vampire who is good at sex. Yay. It left a lot to be desired by me. But with all that being said, let's get into the plot. Let's go with plot. That's a word. Like her Hades X Persephone novels, though this one does execute it better, the plot is mostly a loose string of connected events that helps to prop up the porn. She's better at writing sex scenes, but I feel like she spends a lot more time focusing on those areas and not other areas of the novel, and the other areas of the novel suffer. Like, the world building isn't really a thing here. It's passable, I guess. Enough, not as much as I like, but I'm a, lore slut, so, I've read the Silmarillion. But whatever. With that though, like, it kind of makes everything outside of the, sex scenes kind of boring. And if you're not here for the sex scenes, if you're here for the plot, because, we gotta remember our ace people. They enjoy reading. This isn't going to be for you. Like, if you're one of those people that can enjoy smut, just by itself, you might still get some enjoyment out of it. However, if you skip over those scenes, there's not going to be a lot left in the book for you to enjoy, in my personal opinion. Or in this person's personal opinion that I found over on Goodreads. Stab me in the eyeballs. That is very, very opinionated. I'm not quite that bad. Okay? I was up to the point where I felt like I had to lobotomize myself halfway through this novel, like some of the reviewers that I've read have been. But everybody has their own tolerance, I suppose. In any case, the plot isn't really there. It's lackluster. It's sort of like she had an outline and then just slightly pieced in some other stuff, and threw in some dialogue and fleshed it out, which is, I know how writing happens, but like it seemed like she stopped a few drafts short of where it should have been finished. She still has plenty of time to, expand on writing something that does not involve the anthropomorphization of genitalia. Yeah, that's a thing in here, by the way. Like, if you're like me and you're turned off by the whole, like, talking about people's genitalia in, like, a weirdly, like, either anthropomorphized way or, like, that sort of thing, like, there are going to be parts that, say that you're just not going to like. I think at one point, Isolde refers to her, either her vagina or her clitoris, as a sparrow, I think. Weird. That's not exactly what I would, say. And also the descriptions sometimes in the sex scenes are weird. Every woman's body is different. It's just some of the words used don't really seem to play well into the pictures of what's happening. I think that may have just been St. Clair getting a thesaurus or trying to be inventive. I don't think she doesn't completely know how anatomy works. Hopefully. But yeah. And the reason why I'm talking about that so much is because, like, a lot of this book is eaten up by the scenes. Especially considering this has been billed a lot as an enemies to lovers book, which, don't get me wrong, I love enemies to lovers. Every person who grew up in my age demographic has a fondness for those people that, like, hate each other's guts and then somehow end up in a relationship. It probably stems from the plethora of divorced parents. Maybe we were hoping it would work in reverse. This isn't really an enemies to lovers. It's a girl hates boy and boy wants to have nutty times. Like, I'm oversimplifying, but, like, I'm trying to condense an entire book into what is hopefully a 15-minute or less review. Like, it's not enemies to lovers. There's no indication on his part that he feels in a strongly hateful way towards Isolde. She's the one that seems to be like, but it quickly fades away to naughty kinky times instead. Which is not really enemies to lovers either. It's supposed to be like a gradual thing and a build up, but there's not really a gradual build up or anything. And I read on one review that there were time jumps in the same page, and I didn't see it, but that probably just means they weren't real, like, well written time jumps. And if you told me this entire thing took place over 4 days, I'd be like, yeah, sure. That seems legitimate with a vampire romance. Twilight took place in less than a year, I think, between book 1 and book 2. So a matter of days is nothing. But yeah, general review, if you don't want me to get into any spoilers or, like, additional talk I'm going to do here, if you like vampire erotica, you want to give it a try, you've seen the pictures, go ahead, pick it up. I'd recommend getting it either through a subscription service like I did, or get it on Kindle Unlimited, Kindle Regular, library loan, something like that, where if you don't like it, you don't have a hard copy you're going to have to figure out what to do with. But where you could still enjoy it, to whatever capacity that you will enjoy it. So yeah, that's my general overall thing. Now, set that down. Now we're going to talk about some other things. Specifically, we're going to talk about, like, more plot stuff and some spoilery stuff and things like that. Things that I just have opinions about that I feel like sharing with the internet, because, I can. The first thing I want to talk about dealing with the plot is the fact that you have Isolde, who is a strong, independent woman. She fights. may or may not be a POC character. It's sort of worded and coded weirdly. Maybe on the bigger side. Also don't know. It's weirdly coded. So, yeah, you have her. She's amazing. She's perfect. She owns her own sexuality. She also apparently hates other women. Because most of the interactions between her and other, or actually all of the interactions between her and other women in this book, are basically them being jealous of her because she's with Adrian, and them like fighting it out because of that. Like, I am not a fan of women tearing down women. Sorry. You can have conflict between two female characters and it be completely believable. Typically, I would prefer if that, interaction and that rivalry stemmed from something that could, pass the Bechdel test. But whatever. In this case, none of that. None of that. And because of that, Isolde just comes across to me as super bitchy. Like, I don't know. Like, it's alright to have an unsympathetic or an what's the word I'm looking for? Unsympathetic is probably the best term I could use for Isolde. She's an unsympathetic protagonist. Like, I cannot sympathize with her plight at all. Because I can't. Like, I just can't. Like, I'm sorry. If you can, that's fine. Maybe you've had different life experiences than me. Doesn't mean you're a bitch. Just means I think the character is. But yeah, there's that. It's sort of grating. I don't really like it. It falls into some tropey stuff that, like, St. Clair is not the first nor the last author who has ever done anything like this. It's not going to be the end of the world. However, does it make me want to go back and reread the book? No, not really. I'm getting into something else that is just a larger issue I have in general with, like, supernatural romances, and that is the fact that Adrian is like a 300-year-old vampire. And he hasn't been with anybody for centuries. That's what the book tells us. He hasn't been with anybody. He had a love a long time ago, and it, something bad and tragic happened, and he hasn't been with anybody else since. And Isolde is the one for him, which we're going to get into later too. And there's a massive eye roll coming that is almost too big for the eye roll that is in my soul. But in any case, hundreds of years old, vampires are explicitly and sometimes implicitly coded as being sexual creatures. And you're not going to sleep with anybody else? Nobody. Like, have I just had different life experiences? But I would not trust the 300-year-old supernatural creature that told me that they hadn't been with anybody else except for me. I would not trust that. One, I would assume they were lying. Just would. Two, I would wonder what their ulterior motive was for telling me that. And yeah, it's just, it's weird. It's something that a lot of other supernatural romances do. I just personally don't like it. I would rather have a much more realistic approach of, I've been around for hundreds of years. I've been with lots of other people. But you know what? I decided that you're it. You're the human I want. That's just how it goes. Like, I think that speaks to a maturity of character that doesn't really play into the fantasy. But it does go a lot more towards character development, which a lot of times I feel like these stories lack. Not always from lack of trying from the author's, attempts, but it comes across as flat when they're just like, no, you're my destined one, and it just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't believe in soulmates. Like, if you do, that's fine, but I think that's setting yourself up for failure in life. And also really sad if you met one person and then there was like nobody else after that. Like, that's like me off my meds sad. But Whatever. There's that. Now at this point, if you still made it through this far and you don't want me to spoil the big twist at the end of this, go ahead, sign off, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the book. Leave me a hate comment. I haven't had one of those before. Tell me I suck because I hate this book. In any case, we're going to get into the twist now. And that twist is a reincarnation twist. Woo. Woo. So exciting. Specifically the fact that Isolde is the reincarnation of Adrian's lost witchy love that like got burnt several centuries ago. There was nothing leading up to this, and then suddenly there was ham-fisted foreshadowing that was very off-putting. I hate ham-fisted foreshadowing. You know, where they'll like basically tell you an exposition thing and then the protagonist will have a reaction that almost immediately ties back into that, even though it came out of nowhere and hadn't been mentioned or anything before. Like, it's, lots of people do it. I just don't like it. But yeah, there's some ham-fisted foreshadowing and woo, she's reincarnated and that's why they're meant to be together. And like, again with the soulmate thing, like, I know it's a trope, but I just don't like it. Like, it could be done well. It could be done to the point where, like, it doesn't feel like it's shoehorned in, but that's a tricky tightrope to walk, and I don't feel like this book achieved it. But yeah, so I saw the twist coming, like, pages before it actually did. I wasn't that enthralled with it. I was sort of like, meh. At that point, I think I'd given up. I was just along for the ride to see where it ended. Which could also be a metaphor for most of my life. Any case. Yeah, not great. Now, this is the first book in a series. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll be more plot development. I don't think so, because everything I've read says that the Hades x Persephone series just basically keeps on the same trajectory. So if this series keeps on the same trajectory, I'm not going to like the rest of it. Maybe in a couple of years she'll come out with a new series and try something different, and I'll like that. She's not a bad writer. Some of the wording's off. There are a few key grammatical things that are largely inconsequential because it's still perfectly legible. That sort of thing. I think most of her issues that she needs to focus on have to do with structure and form with the narrative. Yeah, it doesn't flow well, in my opinion. It's not bad. It's choppy in places. Yeah, so there's that. That's just in general. Even if she's going to keep writing the same type of novels that she's writing that are very smut heavy with limited plot, that's fine. But like, it does seem chunky in spots, and that's something she could definitely work on later in order to like smooth out the narrative. Will that make me go rushing to buy her next novel? No, but it might mean that people who enjoy her novels already like the next one even better. So there's that. Overall, if I had to give this book a rating, I would say I would give it 2 vampire fangs. Just 2. Is it horror? That's 2 out of 5, by the way, not 2 out of 10. Is it absolutely horrible? No, I've read worse. You can go look at one right now. I have definitely read worse. I've read better, but better and worse are almost these inconsequential subjective terms that we apply to the things we do and do not like. I didn't like it. Like I said, if you went to this, if you got to where I was saying earlier, if you like vampire erotica, give it a go. You might enjoy the hell out of it. I didn't, as my personal opinion. Whatever. I just didn't like it. Would I ever write off anything else Scarlett St. Clair's written after not liking 2 of her novels? Possibly, but it would just depend on what it is. If it's none of her, like, you know, blah x blah series, I'm probably not going to pick it up. It's just not the type of book I'm going to be interested in. That's just how it goes. But I mostly wanted to put an honest opinion out here because I have seen the fanfare and the hype for this book and her other books on Twitter. Not really Twitter. I don't tend to go over there. Those people are mean. Instagram, TikTok, even on YouTube. Of a lot of people really liking it, and I don't want anybody who doesn't like it to feel like maybe the problem's them. The problem is just not every book meshes with every person. This book didn't mesh with me. That's fine. I'll find it a good home to go to. I'm sure somebody would love it. And they're certainly going to love the fact that they don't have to pay the like $30 for it, and I'll just give it to them because I already paid for it. But that's beside the point. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, like, share, comment, subscribe, leave me a comment. What did you think of King of Battle and Blood? What did you think of Scarlett Sinclair's other books? Do you agree with my opinion? Do you hate my opinion? Either way is valid. In any case, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye. You know a word I don't remember seeing anywhere in this book? Tumescent. That was really a missed opportunity. Google it.